Okay. So we got, we're live streaming, we're recording. So we're here for the September 26, 2024 Board of Ethics meeting. We're going to be discussing the presentations and how we're going to get through this process. We have 4 members, so we have a quorum, and we have our reporter, Cheryl, so thank you, everyone, for coming. I think we should probably see if we have any members of the public first. We do not. That reminds me, I have to. It's changing my name. Okay, so why don't we start by saying, has anyone successfully recorded any of their PowerPoint slides?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
I know I've had this conversation with Pat Tony, about some of the technological difficulties, and also perhaps wanting to have up a graph or a chart if that's part of the PowerPoint slide that you're dealing with. I believe that is one that Pat Tony has been dealing with. So one of the things that we could theoretically do would be, when everyone's ready with their with what they're going to say, they can come down to the law office, and we can record them in the back conference room, close the door so it's nice and quiet. We can do as many takes as necessary in order to get this done. We can then upload them into the system once they're done and everyone likes what they they feel that they're mistake free or anything like that. And also we have a big television in the back, so I could put up for Pat Tony, for example, the flow charts that she wants to reference. And when speaking about those flow charts, we can zoom off of Pat and go over to the screen to show people the flow chart that she's referring to. That is one way that we might be able to do this, which would be easier for everybody, all for you, because it's difficult to self-record like this. And it would be easier to view them with somebody else who's not doing them, and then make sure that they're the way that you want. So I would float that out there as a potential way to try to start getting through this process. But I'll open it up to all you guys to speak about anything about this that you want.
Well, I think after our conversation, there is a way to download something with PowerPoint, and I'm not that computer savvy, but and that's where I got a little stuck, is it where you can pull up the slide, which would be the slides that we've already created, and speak with it. And your picture would be down in the corner, whatever. And I'm just struggling with doing that by myself. Starting with downloading it to our family computer,
Right.
and I'm willing to do that, but I need help. I thought I might have some help from family, but that didn't work out. But anyway, and I'm not sure which is going to look better. I'm happy to do whatever I can certainly come down to City Hall, and as long as I have someone to assist me. This is not something I will struggle if I have to do this all by myself. I'm happy to do it, and in front of a camera and all, but I just want it to be something that's worthwhile, and something that people can reference in the future.
Yeah.
I want to sound like I want to sound.
Mhm.
You know, it might take me 10 times to do it if I were to do it
Right.
at home, but
Mhm.
Same.
that's
Mhm.
okay.
All of us,
Right, it's
Judy?
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I think that's
Pat,
one, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead,
was just
Pat.
going to say
Go ahead.
maybe because I live so close to City Hall, I could come, maybe we could do it together, or we
Yeah.
can sort of pair up and figure out
We can
times
all
to
be
come
there.
and and
that's what
I'd be
wanted
happy to
say
help.
as well.
Room with all of you.
Big
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I
You
want
raised
to
your
say
hand,
as
Catherine. Go
well.
ahead.
What I struggle with
Oh,
is
yeah.
the introduction, the language.
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Catherine, volunteer for what is the language that we should be using?
Mhm.
Right.
The language that we should be using. Should we at City Hall, can we put the background of the logo or whatever the case may be behind us? We sit there and because I downloaded the logo and
Mhm.
it's in the back of me, but it still looks a little weird,
Mhm.
and
Very
then
colorful
when I
and
get ready to
long.
speak about the code and I share and it's there, I'm up in the corner and that sort of a thing.
Yeah,
But just getting the language down on what we want to say so we can be on the same accord
Yeah.
or saying the same things in the introduction.
Yeah.
And in the ending part, what do we say? These are the code. This is 32 whatever code of ethics, and
Right.
you shall see them on the website at blah 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 blah. So we could have the same wording on
Mhm.
in the ending
When
and the
we're
beginning.
talking, okay, about each
the
of our
talking points.
sections, is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry to interrupt
Yes,
you.
because
That's what
I
you mean.
think we
I agree.
mentioned referring back to where they could find them.
Yes, yes.
So
And
that
what we're
language, and in the beginning, do we all say our name, and then we're volunteers on the ethic board committee? What that wording,
Mhm.
if we could get that in order as well.
I-
So once
I
I
think
was
what
doing,
might
I was like,
be-
wow, I seem a little weird, so I'm not quite sure what to say.
I think what might be a good idea would be, to have, it doesn't have to be identical, but if the introductions could be similar.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't think they have to be very long. They don't have to be
No.
exact, but if they're
Absolutely.
similar
Right.
and everyone can agree, the people that are being responsive right now, if everyone can agree on what they like, then the ones that maybe are a little bit further behind will say, here you go, this is what everyone else has agreed on. Can you follow
Right.
this?
Right.
And that has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the substance. It just has to do with the introduction. Then that'll ease your way into the other things.
Absolutely.
Right.
We can, if you guys reach out to me and let me know if you're gonna come down in pairs or individually, I can try to schedule it, on days where we have availability in our conference room in the back. We can use the big screen and either put up the Norwalk logo, like Catherine was saying, or in Pat's situation, because she's dealing with 3212, we can
Mhm.
have the two graphs up so that when she's speaking about one, we can put it up and shift away from her speaking and, or have her stand next to it, so you can see both her and the chart that
Mhm.
she's referring to and go to the one or two charts that she's referring to. If you all want to have the PowerPoint up next to you as you're speaking,
Yes.
so you're next to it, almost like a weather person,
Mhm.
Mhm.
as you're
Exactly.
speaking, you could also do that, and then I can manipulate when you have to go to the second page or you're done, we can stop. You can look at it, see if it's something you like. Again, these are not long, so if you have to take multiple takes, it's not a huge deal. And we can chip away at these things so that maybe within the next month or two, we might have a third of them done, half of them done, hopefully all
Absolutely.
of them done, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. But I'm gonna open it back up for you all to, because I've thought about it, but I want to hear what everyone else has to say.
Well, I would just ask is there anybody in the IT department for support that could even help us download the process through PowerPoint? I mean, you would have, down
Yeah,
in the corner, you would have a picture,
yep,
be a face, but it would show all of the different points. And I, especially in the long one,
yep,
if you don't have it up there for reference,
yep.
people aren't going to listen. It's almost too much. And I think if I were listening to this, without having any background in, I might want to refer back to it.
So
Go back to it at another point.
So Pat, what I would say is if you want to send me an email, because I'm not technologically savvy, if you want to send me an email
Mhm.
about this development that you've had with PowerPoint, I
Mhm.
can email the IT department, and they might be able to, download whatever that might be on the computer that we have in the back conference room so that you could be doing it there so that you can take as many takes as you want. Maybe you're working with somebody or whatever it might be. Or if you want to do it on your own, they might be able to provide a step-by-step instruction about how you download this so you can do it the way that you want to do it. Because it's important that everyone tries to be as similar as possible, but we're not robots, so everyone's got to kind of do it their own
Right.
way. So
Okay,
if they
good.
look a little bit different in the presentation, as long as the substance is there, I don't think it really matters.
I mean, I want it to be user friendly, you
Yep.
know, and
Yes.
this is, not not the most stimulating information, but it's important. And, if they come to need it in the future, can refer back to it, I would hope they could do that, so.
I think what might also be important is if people are gonna come into the conference room and do the presentations back there, what I'll try to do is on each of the PowerPoints that we have agreed upon that you're working on the last page, I will add a page on, and on that last page, you can end with, this is the website to find the chapter. This is the website to
Okay.
find the citizens.
Okay,
Great.
And have
Oh,
those
that
that
two
would be
things on there,
nice.
so at the end of each slide, everyone sees that. We
Mm-hmm.
can work on that as well, so when you come in, we can get that going.
That's great.
That's great.
I really like that idea, and I like
Yeah.
having the slides like up in your conference room because I
Yeah.
tend to refer back sometimes when I'm
Yeah.
talking or just be standing next to it, almost like, not quite like a game show, but something, to be referring to.
Like the weather, like the weather.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
weather.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that, I've heard different takes from each of you. I think it is helpful. To the extent that we can do this, I think it's helpful to have an actual person on the video while they're looking at the slide next to it. That's why I thought our conference room might be helpful, seeing as we're having this technological issue.
Mhm.
So that would be the one thing. I think it's helpful for somebody to see somebody talking as opposed to just hearing a voice, especially if
Yep.
the information isn't stimulating.
Mhm.
So, and again, I don't know how long this is going to take. You guys can take as long as you want to get these done the way that you want, because again, you're putting on the presentation. And then once we have that, once we get them all done, we can try to work with getting them uploaded on the website, or if it's taking a long time, perhaps we can get some of them uploaded on the website, but I prefer to do them all at the same time so that people aren't, oh, did I see that one already? I don't even remember,
Mhm.
I'm jumping ahead, but at some point, I just would like since I missed August, I do not know what the city's HR or whoever is going to coordinate, who goes to see it at what time. I don't know if we have any of that, or if they just want us to hand off a training and they'll take care of it, so to speak.
I think what we can do for now is we can, I mean, I have reached out to them. We can get the video, start the video process, get them
Yes.
uploaded so that we can say to them, hey, we have all of them, or we have 6 of them ready. I want you to take a look at them so you can see what they're looking like. So that, they can make comments saying, hey, this is fabulous. Keep doing what you're doing. Here's a suggestion.
Mhm.
And you can either ask the people to come back in to do it again when it's convenient, or just moving forward, we can do that. But what I'll do is in the interim, before you guys start scheduling everything, I will go back and add a page to each of the PowerPoint slides and add in, chapter, and then the chapter is 32 and the website and the citizens guide, and this is the website, and that'll be the last page that
Okay.
people see at the end of each of your videos, so that everything ends the same
That's
way.
great.
Great. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
very much like that.
Yep. So just again, when you guys figure out your schedules, reach out and we can try to get you in here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Typically our conference room it's not always being used, so I don't think scheduling will be an issue. I figured out how to use it and how to upload documents onto it so you can see it, and it's a really big screen. I mean, if you're standing next to it, you're gonna look like a weather person, so which is good. I mean, that's way people can see it. And then we
And
just have to
Brian-
figure out if we're doing on the phone, are we gonna do it sideways or vertical? I don't know. We
Mhm.
probably should do it both ways so that we have the option. Because I
Mhm.
don't know if IT or somebody's gonna say, no, it can only work one way.
Correct. This way you have it and they can
Yep.
look at it.
Yes, Ann?
I have a question. So the sections that I'm doing are just text. I think it's actually the definitions
Yep,
of the terms.
yep.
So would it, I could just be sort of in front of the seal or something like that. It wouldn't have to have the text rolling or because it's not a chart. It's unless you all think that that would be good for people to see the text as I'm reading it, but I don't.
I think it should see the text so they can see the wording and that
Oh, okay.
information as
Yeah,
well.
they might
So,
need to, register
Yeah.
both.
So it's
and
so
the ones-
both,
yeah,
both
a
the
lot of
video,
people are
the
visual
speaking and
people,
the, okay.
yeah,
Sure,
Yeah,
and
I
our
think-
voices can provide some, at least inflection and change the, oh,
Right.
we're just
Correct.
Yeah.
reading,
It's
kind
I-
of.
I
versus
think
just
part of it,
being like a
Ann-
talking head. Yeah.
right.
You know, part of it, Ann, is your one of your obviously definitions is a little bit different from all the other ones. You're not going to be reading the definitions. So it's more along the lines of as you're kind of going through what you're explaining, we have a general idea of how long it's going to take. All right, if it's 45 seconds, we'll do 15 seconds on each of the 3 slides or however many of them there are.
Right.
But with the other ones that you're doing and others are doing, as you're going through the PowerPoints, when it gets to the next, when you're starting to go to the next page, you don't have to say next page. If I'm in there with you, which I should be, because I'll be doing moving the mouse and everything like that to get to the next PowerPoint. we
Right,
just move it
that's
over
good.
logically and everyone continues.
Okay.
And with Pat, it would be going through the bullet points and then you get to the chart or the graph. You go through those and then you continue down. Or
Right. Excellent.
or if Pat feels strongly, we can just have, instead of having her bullet points up, whatever she wants really, because it's her time to do that. We could either have just the charts up that she wants, or we could go through the bullet points and then show the charts.
I
And we
think
can,
both.
whatever you guys want to do. I mean, some of them are a lot different than others, so.
Right, yeah.
So just think
Got
about
this.
it before you come in. And
Okay.
again, it's how comfortable, what you feel comfortable doing, because you're the one making the presentation. And so they're not all going to be identical, but they'll be
Right.
similar enough that people
Mhm.
understand what they're going to get with each of these.
Right.
That's great.
Excellent.
Like that. That is
right,
really
so-
good to hear.
After the meeting's over, hopefully I will be able to get everyone the updated PowerPoint slides. I'll go back to the original email that I sent where it broke down who's getting what.
Yes.
I will then send attached to that I think it's 17 or 18 slides to that so that everyone has access to the ones that they're responsible for, and they'll have the updated page with the websites as the last page on each of them.
Great.
Great.
Okay, great.
So just email me or give me a call, let me know when you guys decide that you want to come in, and we'll make sure that day works. I don't know why it wouldn't, I'm sure it will. And you do it for as long as you need to make sure you're doing it the way that you want. And then
Okay.
when you're done, we'll upload them. And then we will try to figure out what the process is with the departments that are going to be attaching it to the website or reviewing it just before it gets put up there.
Okay.
Sounds very good.
That's great.
And I know we only have 4, we're missing 2, so when I send out the email with the updated PowerPoint slides, we'll try to remind everybody that there's an additional page which is going to be consistent with everybody's, and that our recommendation is that you come in and do it in the conference room because you have access to this really big screen, and you can be standing next to it as you read, and the PowerPoint slide will be there so people can
Mhm.
hear you and see what it is that you're referring to. So we'll try to remind everyone who isn't here tonight about that as well.
What's the best time of the day to do this sort of thing? I mean, my schedule's pretty flexible, so.
So what I would tell you is just, give me at least a day or two's notice so I can ensure that the room is going to be available, because sometimes lawyers in our department have meetings there. Sometimes other members of other departments don't have room, so they come down and use ours. So it really depends. I think we have a lot of flexibility back there. I mean, for example, I had an all-day deposition a week or 2 ago, and nobody else was allowed to use it, but I requested the room. So let me know. I can request the room. I can confirm that you have access to the room, and I can let you know, hey, you have 2 hours, or hey, there's no one there today. You have all day,
Right, yeah.
for
Okay.
as long as it takes.
Okay.
So you have a general idea about, hey, I don't want to be in a rush. So I'd rather come in at a day where it's a little bit lighter, or I think I can do this. So if you're only giving me 2 hours, which should be more than enough time, We'll take the 2 hours and then it's just a matter of uploading them, which shouldn't really take that long.
Okay.
Good.
But if you, Pat, if you have a question about that PowerPoint stuff, send it to me and I'll forward it over to IT and hopefully someone can get back to both of us. I'll copy you on the email and ask that you be copied on any response that they give. So hopefully they can give directions or some kind of insight, or they're going to tell you, hey, we can't do that. And then we'll have to do it with the big screen or however, we'll have to
Yeah, whatever.
audible.
Whatever works best.
Okay. Yeah, so just let me know when you guys want to come in and I'll confirm the room.
Okay.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of, we have to make sure that when reviewing it, that everyone can see it. So we might have to get closer that, so that, you might have to get closer to the screen because we want to make sure that
Right.
people can see the language, but
Mhm.
we'll try to zoom out the language or make it as big as possible, whereby everyone can still see what's on the screen. The
Right.
entire thing,
Okay.
so we're not scrolling up and down.
Right.
It just sounds like a great professional way to do it. We can get
Yeah.
some, similarity and yet
Some
we can
consistency,
put what
but
we need
a
to-
little
Right.
individuality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And then as we discussed, once we're in the process of doing this, I imagine that once one person does it, it'll make it easier for everybody else, or
Right, correct.
maybe like a majority of you will get it done and then it's just a matter of getting in the others. Then we can start working on, perhaps, a presentation about ethics in general, our code, and about how it affects officials appointed or elected and employees, and try to put together some kind of continuing education
Yeah.
course working with HR to see when we could try to start that.
Okay.
Great.
That would be the next thing.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything else?
No.
I'm just gonna raise one point and I just wanted to know how the rest of my teammates here feel about whoever does do this training. Should they have a little acknowledgement page that they've done it that goes in their file that kind of supports that they have a knowledge of this? And it's a safeguard for them. It's a safeguard for the city, making sure that the people who fall under the policy have at some point in time done the training. I
Yeah,
don't know. How
so-
do you all feel about that?
Well,
Yeah.
Legally, Brian, is there an issue there with the city?
No, I don't think so, because we've had seminars through the IT department about cyber attacks and computer safety and phishing and all that other stuff. And obviously these occurred pre-COVID, so there were multiple sessions where this gentleman from Connecticut Conference of Municipalities came in and gave a very entertaining speech about the pitfalls. But people had to sign in, they had to indicate their department, things like that. Obviously, we're in a little bit different situation where it might be partially attended in person and partially via video, via hybrid, but perhaps we can work with IT if people are gonna attend one way or the other, whether they're gonna view it live or view it whatever, that they should have to, that there should be some kind of thing where they have to put in their email address in order to access it,
Right.
so that we know that they're signing in.
On the list.
Again, if they're not there in person, we don't know whether they're just signing in and then just leaving. I don't think we have access to that thing where like a timer goes
Where
off.
you can
I could
time
ask
it.
them.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
some kind of passcode during the thing. We could certainly try to have like a password, but the point is we've had things like this before where, like with IT, with cyber attacks and everything, where it was telling employees and officials, you have to come in and you have to sit through this. I think it was definitely for employees. I can't remember. Officials might have come in on a voluntary basis, because obviously you guys are volunteers and you have, full-time jobs, so it's tough to get in. But again, we could also offer one during the workday and one in the evening, so that people who can attend during the day or during the evening, vice versa, could come when it's convenient for them. And then we could try to figure out what kind of participation rate we got. And are they gonna just say it's recommended or mandatory? That's not my decision.
Right. We don't know, I guess, that yet. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that makes a difference. I think I like what you're suggesting myself. But if it's, mandatory, then you could do more with an acknowledgement, something they sign that goes in their file, employees file. I mean, elected officials and others, that's harder to do, but
Right, I mean, I think we could come up with some kind of, we get these certificates and we take legal education courses that indicate that,
Oh,
you
yeah,
sat through
okay.
whatever.
yeah.
We could put together something like that says, well, I just sat through a 2 hour or 1.5 hour ethics course provided by the city of Norwalk. And it discussed the code of ethics and the citizens guide and what our ethical responsibilities are as an employee or an appointed or elected official. And, have somebody sign it, and we retain a copy, and they can have a copy for their own files. I sat through this, I'm aware of this. Or have HR hold on to it. It doesn't really matter to me
Mhm,
where it goes, as
mhm,
long as it's
mhm.
held somewhere.
Lots of choices. Well,
Yeah.
okay, let's see what happens after we get it recorded.
Right. Yeah, so again, just I'll try to get the PowerPoints back out to you guys within hopefully less than a week.
Okay.
But in the interim, that's not going to stop you from preparing. It's just that just has to be there when you guys are ready for the final presentation. So
Okay.
Great.
Right.
does anyone have any questions or any other thoughts about our steps going forward to try and get these YouTube videos done, or these videos done?
No, you answered a lot of things.
Yeah.
You had a good suggestion there for us. No, I
Okay.
like it.
Right. I think a lot of things were cleared up for me as well.
Okay, good. And like I said, if anyone has any questions about, maybe you guys want to commiserate a little bit on the language, the four of you, since you are here.
Okay.
Try to come up with, boilerplate that everyone can amend and put their own spin on, but boilerplate, introductory, and maybe closing language.
Okay.
Yeah.
For each of the things, and then once you guys are ready to go, let me know, and we'll set them up.
And one other thing I wanted to acknowledge, Pat, you're not the only one that feels uncomfortable with technology, though. You said it so eloquently. I'm just like, usually I'm just like, oh no. Like I realized the other day, as a quick example, Google Drive has suddenly
Oh, boy.
combined 5 different types of drives in one. So I'm
Right.
trying to figure that out. So we're all in the same boat. Once you're
Mhm.
not working in a corporation environment anymore, you don't have an IT department to help.
Right.
Oh, and I would
Yes, I
just
know.
float out, I know, I mean, I've worked in private law firms before, so they're not really like corporations, but I know some
Right.
of you do have some corporate experience, or maybe in the medical field or whatever it might be. If anyone has any recommendations about the next step, which is putting together that presentation for everybody, if anyone
Yeah.
has recommendations about that, please,
That'd be fun.
throw them out there about how it should look or how long it should be or things like that. And then we can work on the substance, but I've never done one of these before, so all help will be appreciated.
I think I was thinking, as Catherine was speaking, I had some of the same concerns about how do you introduce yourself,
Right.
and you should be consistent. And my thoughts were, again, not to do it. You don't need anything extensive, but who you are.
Right.
Mhm.
And my question is, do you say your last name, or you just say, my name is Pat, I'm part of the ethics board for the city of Norwalk. And this is section 32-12. And
Right.
I'm going to go through this, I might make a half a sentence comment about the importance of this, or what, you
Right.
know,
That's
the title,
basically
something
it,
like
yeah.
that. And then,
I don't think it is necessary for you guys to use your last names.
Mhm.
I mean, you guys are public appointed officials.
Mhm.
So your full names are on the website, but
yes, we know.
if you just want to leave it as Pat and Catherine or Pat,
You're right.
I mean, I think that's good enough.
Mhm.
These are going to be vetted by members of the administration before they get put up on the website. And they'll probably be, once they're put up on the website, I would imagine there'll be some kind of outreach to let people know, hey, they're there and you have to go look at them.
Right.
So I don't think there's any concern about that.
Right.
So,
Okay.
And just, you know, when you make a final thing, um, I'm assuming that there's some way for people, if they have questions, because this is not going to be interactive.
Correct.
They're going to be watching this, and so they come up with a question that's important to them. How do they go about finding out the answer? And
That's a really good
contacting
question.
you
Yeah,
or
that's a good one.
That's a
too.
really good point, Pat, and what I would recommend perhaps is that on the last page where we have
Mhm.
you know, the websites, maybe we put down, if you have any questions, call Brian Candela, and I'll give the number, my direct, our law, the law office's number and my email address. Because if they have questions, then we're talking about advisory opinions or there's gonna, it sounds like some of them might be seeking legal guidance or ethical guidance from the ethics committee,
Mhm.
Board of Ethics, which is obviously something that somebody needs to take. I'm staff, so, and I'm the one who's the full-time employee, so perhaps we put my name down there as well. If you have any questions, reach out to them. We'll give some ways for them to reach out to me. And we'll do that consistently on each of those slides. It's a good point, so we should do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very good.
All right. And I guess as I'm going through it, I'm trying not to read it word for word. Some of it you have to, but
Some of it you have to.
but it's going to be too long.
I,
And
I,
it's gonna
I
get
would
boring.
recommend, I
And-
would recommend this. I think it's not easy because you don't want to leave something out.
Right.
I think that the most important thing that you guys are doing is you're providing cliff notes,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
a brief summary of what it is that you're talking about. As you're explaining this section, maybe right after the intro, before you get into it, explain why this particular section is important or why it's relevant and why we should be listening to it. So there's that. And I think that to the extent that you can take a bunch of, if you're talking about something as large as Pat's, which is 3212, maybe you take a look at what's on each of the pages and you try to summarize it briefly because you have like 15 pages. Whereas, you know, Ann or Catherine or Pat might have shorter ones. They can say, okay, I can spend a little bit more time on this and not get too long. But with Pat, if you did that, Pat, your thing would be probably 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So some stuff you are going to have to
Don't
talk
be,
about.
but you know,
Some of the stuff you are going to have to talk about. You
right,
might say it
exactly.
like this. You might say, well, an ethics complaint could be filed, but it can only be filed within 6 months of the alleged infraction.
Mhm.
You know, and that's a pretty brief summary of saying you only have 6 months to do this, as opposed to trying to read the sentence that says that or the paragraph that says that.
Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, there are requirements for filing. You cannot make public what you're complaining about. Otherwise, your case can be dismissed. I mean, that's a pretty brief, succinct sentence of what it describes to say, if you're going to do this, you cannot publicize it. There are rules for public, for there are rules when you file an ethics complaint. It's supposed to be confidential until it's not confidential. So there's ways to make each of those sections a little bit more brief if you need to. Like if you do the conflict of interest section, you can't go through each of the conflicts of interest. You can say, listen, you know, there are situations where you're going to be put in a situation where you might have an actual conflict or a potential conflict where it looks like you have a conflict. If you have questions, you should reach out to the Board of Ethics. But here are some examples, and maybe you give 2 or 3 examples if you're doing 32.4, which is again a little bit more complicated, a little bit longer.
Mhm.
So the longer ones, I think you could be a little bit briefer and summarize in the areas where you can attack it like that.
Right.
Some of the shorter ones, I think you can not read it verbatim, but I think you don't have to worry about that because they're not going to be that long, even if you're more true to what is the written word on the page.
Mhm. Okay.
And so I mean, we tried not to, you know, overload anybody. If we gave someone a lot, it was because there was a couple of them that were pretty slow. And I think unless you have a weird one like 3212 or the definitions, a lot of them are going to look the same. So once you do one, the substance I think is going to be easier. I think the way each of you individually present it is going to be consistent amongst your own presentations. So I think it will make it easier on you once you get that first one done.
Okay.
And if you have any, if you're concerned about what you're doing and you want to read it to somebody before you're coming in because you don't want to waste your time, you can give me a call, email me, let me know when you're available, and I can, you know, listen to what you're saying and look at the PowerPoint with you and say, all right, well, I think this is where, you know, it's good, it's perfect, or let's make some changes here. This is how you can cut it down a little, we can time it too. I mean, you can call me and before you come in, if you want to do that, we can certainly do that as well.
Great.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have anything else?
Did we want to accept the minutes from the last meeting?
Oh, yeah, it's a good point.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
we have
Hold on.
some of that stuff.
I knew we were forgetting something. Hold on.
They're not long.
We went right past that. Hold on. Let me pull that up real quick. What was the last one we were in? July, I think.
July 25th.
Yeah.
July 25th. All right, let me pull up the minutes. Well, while I'm pulling it up, did anyone see anything in the minutes? Here they are. They're 2 pages long. So we're gonna have to approve the minutes once everyone has a chance to look at it, but Pat A cannot vote. She
Okay,
wasn't here.
I wasn't there, right.
So does anyone see any issues on the first page?
No?
Looks good.
All right, how about the second? There's not much on the second page.
No?
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the July 25, 2024 minutes from our last Board of Ethics meeting? Can someone move to approve them?
I, Catherine, move to accept the minutes from July's meeting,
Yep, July 25, 2024. Okay,
25,
so
2024.
Catherine moves to approve them. Can I get a vote from Pat T, Ann, and Catherine if you vote to approve the minutes as without amendments?
Yes.
Without amendment.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. I will then post the approved minutes back on the website, probably tomorrow. Do we have anything else besides we approved the minutes? We talked about our next steps for the presentation and future project. Does anyone else have anything else before I let you go?
No? No?
Okay, great. So I will get that email out with the revised PowerPoint slides. Hopefully sooner rather than later, with an explanation to everyone, including those who weren't here. We can we'll go from there.
Perfect.
And if anyone has any questions or concerns about anything, please email me or give me a call. So we can discuss it, whether it's about this or about something else pertaining to the board. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you,
That's
everybody.
great.
Appreciate you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night, everyone.
Oh,
Night.
we have a
Take
motion
care.
to
Oh,
end
to
the meeting.
dismiss.
I motion to dismiss the September 26th, 2024 meeting.
Okay,
of
can
the
we get a
Ethics
vote?
Board.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.